All right, back again with another 25-inch K7000 that is in vertical collapse. I have not tested this. I just took it out of the box and I was told that it has vertical collapse. So there are a few things that I noticed right off the bat, but we'll get to those in a moment. But there was this other stuff here that was included in the box. I don't know why this is here. It doesn't really have any bearing on the chassis itself. This is all complete. This other stuff here, I'm not sure why it was in the box. I think that somebody was trying to use this as a ground because the main ground wire off the neck board's missing. The wire that comes off the neck, or off the neck ground that goes over here to the frame, that's connected, but the main ground that goes from here to the tube ground, the DAG ground's missing. I can only assume that they wanted to use this because it's already been soldered and hooked, and maybe it fell off, I don't know. So we'll probably have to use this for the ground. The rest of this I'm not quite sure. There is a capacitor here, which I assume is an extra width cap because it's rated at 474 and 400 volts. So I'm not sure. So we'll set that aside for now. So there were really four things that I've noticed. On our linearity coil here, the linearity coil was bent over like this. And I don't know if that happened in shipping or somebody working on it, but we can just kind of twist it around and it sits right back in place where it should be. I just need to glue it back in place. So that was loose or bent around like that. Somebody's replaced R101 for some reason, unless the other one burned up, I can't say, but that's definitely a brand new R101. This side of D21 looks like it might have burned up. It's hard to say, but that's got some board damage there. And then, well, there's two more things here. I'll leave the last one that I suspect is a big issue for last. Well, this one's kind of a big issue too, but R44 is missing. Somebody has physically removed R44 from the circuit. Now, why would they do that? If we look at the back side, R44 has been removed. Now, did someone steal it from this chassis for another chassis? I don't know. Will that cause vertical collapse? Again, I don't know. I need to look at the circuit, but I don't think so. So that's interesting. Now, the last thing I noticed was the vertical size pot on the remote board. It was kind of smashed flat, and I straightened it back up. It was smashed over flat. I moved it over and bent it and straightened it back up. But the turn knob is loose. Now, you can see here, I can wiggle this around like that, and if you listen, you can hear it. You can hear it shake around. And that is the vertical size pot. Now, I did ohm it out, and ohms out correct, but I have another remote board that I can plug onto here just to verify. So if we get this all tested and nothing tests bad, we will fire it up. If it's collapsed, we'll change out the neck board, see if maybe this is a cause, because if this is loose, then the contacts may not be making contact and it could be open in the circuit, and that would absolutely cause the collapse. So that is suspect. Also very highly suspect is why R44 was removed from the circuit, so we'll have to put a new one of those in before we turn it on. But just looking at it, giving it a good cursory look over, it's got a full complete new cap kit. It's got including a new filter cap, replacement flyback. The bottom side is in good shape. It's very clean. The bottom side's not butchered. Someone has made a jumper across here when they replaced R101. We need to do a little bit of reflow, but nothing that would cause it to need to be done right now. That'll be on the back side of things. So except for R44 missing and the flaky possible bad vertical size pot, there's really nothing else that I see that would cause it. Now, there is a couple spots here. I don't know how far I can get in here. There is a spot right here that is highly suspect for that joint right there. It's almost like it's broken and not soldered in. That is this black wire here. That's just a ground. Looks like it's just this black wire for a ground, so not a big deal there. Someone has removed the plate here, likely when they replaced the HOT. HOT looks like it's been replaced. What else here? There are some lifted pads that someone broke when they changed out the flyback, but it's secure, and we can test it for continuity. But I don't think that's part of the vertical circuit that runs up here to the voltage regulation section. So right off the bat, I don't see anything that would leap out at me that would say, okay, here's your problem. So let's go through and just do some quick testing. If nothing tests bad, we'll just fire it up and see if we can duplicate the discrepancy. It's always important to duplicate or verify the discrepancy before you start throwing parts at stuff. But that's only if you find nothing. If we test this out and find that D13 is shorted, or R91 is open, or R92 is open, or what have you, or one of the pins for the vertical IC is shorted that shouldn't be, that's fairly obvious there's the problem. But if all this stuff checks okay, then we'll turn it on and verify the discrepancy and kind of go from there. But let's test our continuity on all of our flyback pins here, just to make sure we don't have a broken trace. I'm trying not to apply pressure in case it is cracked. I don't want to give a false reading by pushing down and creating a circuit when if you let go of the pressure it opens up. So I'm trying not to push down too hard on these. The solder here is not quite correct, so I have to kind of poke into it. There's a coating on it for some reason. I'm not sure if that cap has been changed. Okay, all the flyback pins are good. Yeah, it's been changed. There's just not much solder on the pads. We'll turn the iron on. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's not the cap. This is a different cap. I was looking at these pads here, but it's actually, this is the capacitor. Blah blah blah. Okay, well, let's start by checking the vertical IC and make sure no pins are shorted that shouldn't be. The only pin that should be ground is this one right here. This one has the jumper. No, there's no jumper. So the only pin that should read to ground is, I think that's pin 1. Pin 1 is on the ground trace here. So pin 1 should read to ground, the rest of them should not. So if we go to, actually let's just go here. So pin 1, ground, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So no pins shorted to ground that shouldn't be, so the IC should be okay. I say should be okay. It's not a flyback problem, providing our 26 volts. So IC flyback should be okay. Now let's check R91 and R92. There's two resistors down in here that if either one of these resistors are open, it'll cause collapse. You've got R92 is this guy right in here. That guy right there, R92. And R91 is right behind it back there. So we can test those on the bottom side of the chassis, and those should be 1.2 ohms, give or take. R92 is right here, 1.3. R91 is right here. There you go. R91 is open. That'll do it. That should be 1.2 ohms, and that's 2.6K. So there's your problem, at least one of the problems. D13 and D14 are right next to it down in here. It's hard to see. There's one of them right here. Let's zoom in a bit. There's one right there, and there's one right back there. So 14, I believe, is this one, and 13 is back behind it. So you want to make sure those are good as well, because if they're not, you can take out your resistor that you just replaced. So I think 13 is this way. 0.5 voltage drop is what we're looking for. This one actually, I think, reads about 0.3 voltage drop in circuit. Yes, correct. Okay, so 0.3 in circuit. Now we switch our leads around the other way. Should get 0.45 or so for D14 or 13, whichever one this is. Yeah, 0.39, 0.44. And yeah, 13 is the one in the back. 14 is the one that's closer. So, okay, it looks like R91 is open. We can start with that and see if that yields any results. So we'll replace R91, we'll replace R44 that's missing, and then let's turn it on and see what happens. I need to glue our linearity coil back on its base. Don't let me forget that. And we need to kind of turn my fan on here. We need to push this down so it's flat. All right. And we need to hit up this. Okay. And everything else looks all right. Nothing in major need of reflow before we turn it on. And of course I'll go through and do all the full reflow like I normally do before. Oh, I just spot something else. Before we give this back to the owner. Now, what is going on with this ground trace here? Looks like it got burned up and somebody replaced it with a piece of copper. Can't say I've ever seen anything like that before. If we well, it's good. That's odd. What we need, now I don't show this a lot on camera. When I do all this, when I scrape away, when I use the fiberglass pen and scrape away the traces and do a rework, like if you go back a couple of videos, I worked on this K7000 that had vertical collapse. I talked about how the board was bent and cracked, and I don't often show it, but whenever I do the scrape and solder blob method, I always come through and put some mask over the joints that I make. Like here's where it was cracked. So I don't think I ever really show that, but I do accomplish that if people out there are wondering. So what we need to do here is probably do the same thing. And I don't actually use solder mask. I just use this green paint, which accomplishes the same thing. You're just trying to seal up the work here. I just put a protective coating over this is really all you have to do. All right, I think that'll work. Okay. Then we just take a little alcohol and squirt a little alcohol on our brush and wipe it off, and ready to use next time. The other thing that I noticed, that wasn't what I noticed. What I actually see here is this lifted pad right here. I don't know if you can even see it right there. It's a lifted pad right there. Now that is part of this bipolar cap, which we'll just create a, where is it at here? There it is. We'll just create a bridge across there, so we won't have to worry about that. There we go. Right there. Boom. So, got that solved. I mean, I guess I was told this was in collapse. They didn't tell me anything about it having issues powering on. So let's just power it up. See if it turns on. If it does, are we in collapse? We should not be. After we change that R91 and R44, it should be good. So hopefully it won't be in collapse. Well, you guys almost. You didn't remind me. I can't rely on you. You've proven yourself but I can't rely on you. So I had to remind myself. Let's glue our linearity coil back in place here. Okay. Got to figure out, hold that for a little bit and figure out how long that's going to take. So I'll just hold this for about 3 minutes. I'll cut away, or I'll leave the camera running, but I'm going to cut away and come back and this will be done here. Okay, so it's hardened in place, and so that should be good. I have a donor chassis over here that we can rob R44 and R91 from. So let's begin with R44. Okay. I can't imagine a scenario where somebody would ever take this resistor out, but someone did. They probably robbed it for another board or who knows what for. Baby, if you ever wondered whatever became of me, I'm living on the air in Cincinnati, WKRP. I'm at WKRP in Cincinnati. As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. Get in there, you. There you go. All right, R44 is reinstalled. Now let's see if we can get R91 out of here. We're going to have to use some braid here. Now I've got brand new R91s and R92s. I got a bunch of brand new ones, but there's no reason to use them if I've got a donor chassis sitting here right next to me. And sure, it looks bad to me. It's all burned up. So the ultimate test here, of course, you always want to double check out of circuit here. If we go to ohms and we check our leads, make sure our leads are good, 0.1, we should get 1.2 ohms, and we get 3K.
Well, there's your problem.
So let's steal this one out of here. Really, come on. I'm gonna do this the quick and easy way. Yeah, I guess we'll do it the right way. Now, if we test this one, what do we get? 1.4, and with our leads reading 0.1, we get 1.3 ohms within spec of 1.2. So now the fun part begins of trying to get this little bugger back in here. Okay, holes are lined up, that's good. And if we try and snake this in here, my fingers aren't long enough. And come on, you. Got it. Okay. Now, stay in there. Don't fall out. Odd. Okay, now if we go to ohms with the replacement one in there, we get 1.2 instead of 3.K or whatever it was. 1.5, 1.4, all right. Well, I think that was it. So we got the possible culprit replaced. We got R44 that was missing installed. We got the linearity coil glued back down. We got some solder joints hit up that needed it. I think we're good for power. And if we go over the neck board here, all of the color pots are in good shape. I've already pre-wiped them and set them to center. None of our transistors are loose. The back of the neck board looks like it's in good condition. I need to reflow some of these, but not immediately. Let's grab our ground wire and let's see if we can get this to solder in here. Okay. There we go. I think that'll work. Now, one way to really kind of prevent that from happening again is you can just get a zip tie and zip tie this like this, which is what I'm going to do. Then you don't got to worry about that ever happening again. Well, breaking off, I mean. And we don't want these wires resting on that resistor right there, so we'll take that resistor and kind of bend it out of the way. Just like that. Okay, now, I mean, I'm still skeptical of this loose vertical size pot, but I did ohm it out and it changes, so it's probably going to be good, but I think our main issue is just simply R91 was way out of, it didn't open up, but it's 3K or almost 4K I think it was, without being out of circuit. Should be 1.2, so all right, I guess what we'll do now is, since I'm confident that that was the issue, let's get it on a tube and fire it up. I'm still curious as to what all this other stuff was included for, but I'm hoping we don't have other problems beside just collapse. So the first thing is going to be to get it uncollapsed and see where we're at. If R91 and R44 fixes the problem and everything works fine, then we will run some tests. I'll do some reflow and we'll call it done. So let's see what happens. All right, all hooked up, ready to go. Anode, neck, yoke, ground, power, video, remote, all hooked up, so we're not going to cause any problems or damage when we turn it on. Let's turn the test pad and generator on, and let's see if our collapse is solved or if there's any other issues that have cropped up or display themselves, if you will. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, power's up nice and good. And well, there you go. How about that? Someone's got a lot of stuff cranked because I guess they were trying to figure out what the problem was, but let's turn our brightness all the way down, contrast all the way down. Screen pot's way too high. So we'll turn the screen pot down till the raster lines go away. Oh, too much right there. And focus is pretty darn good right there. Now we'll turn our black level up until the background is no longer black, like that. Back down till it just gets black. So our black level and our brightness and screen are exactly where they need to stay and never should be touched again. Well, you know, if this was staying on this tube, this is just an example of what to do. And then you adjust contrast as necessary. We'll go roughly there, looks good. And vertical size, well, does in fact work. So I'm shaking it around here, nothing's happening. So the pot, even though the top is loose, appears to be good. Vertical position, we'll have to go like this. And we're equidistant now, so vertical size, H position, roughly there. Its image is way too wide, but we're not going to mess with it because it probably is set that way on purpose by the owner for whatever game this was running in. But just for the sake of argument, let's grab the width tool here and let's make sure that we can actually adjust the width. And yep. Perfect. All right. Put it back where it was, right about there. Okay. Well, mission accomplished. We undoubtedly had collapse because of a bad R91. So, I mean, if it was good, they wouldn't have sent it in, and then you can look at the resistor and see that it's blackened a bit, and it reads what, 3 point something K, 3.0, some 3.4, I forget. But another K7000 resurrected from collapse. So I will take it back off of here, do the full reflow, hook it up with an actual PCB, let it run for a number of hours like I always do, no issues. We'll send it back to the owner and call it a success. So another nice, quick, and easy one. So thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. I have behind on the tail end of this one, I have a K7500 to fix. Is that right? Yeah, a K7500 that is dead out of Golden Tee, and 2 U2000s, and I can't recall what the issue with those are at the moment. But I have a 7500 and 2 U1000s coming up after this, so stay tuned for those. I appreciate it. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you then.